Marneus Calgar, the god of Ultramarine, the man who was never supposed to exist. The Fortress of Hera on Macragge holds records on every notable Ultramarine who has ever served the chapter. Within its vaults, 28 volumes are devoted to a single warrior. That number is twice the total of any other living Ultramarine. Only Primarch Roboute Guilliman himself surpasses it. Those 28 volumes belong to Marneus Augustus Calgar, Chapter Master, Lord of Macragge, the man who has held Ultramar together through wars that should have destroyed it. He was not born Marneus Calgar, the truth of Nova Thulium. The man the galaxy knows as Marneus Calgar was born Tacitan, a serf of the Noble House of Calgar on the world of Nova Thulium. His only connection to greatness was the boy he served, the young heir Marneus Calgar, his closest companion. Both boys trained together under a man named Crixus on Thulium Minor, hoping to become space marines. One night they discovered what Crixus truly was. He and the other aspirants were cornate cultists conducting blood rituals in secret. Before they could escape, the cultists attacked. Marneus Calgar was killed. He was 12 years old. Tacitan survived, killed most of the corrupted aspirants, and was rescued by the Ultramarines. In the aftermath, he took his dead friend's name and pledged that Marneus Calgar would become a space marine, would serve the Emperor, would be remembered. The tomb of the true Marneus Calgar still stands on Nova Thulium. It records his age of death as 12. The man who carries his name has since filled 28 volumes. The weapons, Calgar carries the gauntlets of Ultramar, twin mastercrafted power fists with integrated bolters built into each. Primarch Roboute Guilliman recovered them from the Chaos Champion following the Gamaliel Reclusium massacre and wore them as his own. No Adeptus, Mechanicus, Magos, or Chapter Artificer has ever broken open the shell of either gauntlet to examine the mechanisms inside. They are beyond current Imperial understanding to replicate. He wears the armor of Antilochus, an ornate suit of Terminator armor. His personal Land Raider is named Maximus, its plating engraved with passages from the Codex Astartes and scenes from the chapter's greatest victories, trimmed in gold, hung with banners of honored provenance. The Siege of Zalathras. Early in his tenure as chapter master, Calgar faced an orc warg. At the Siege of Zalathras, the greenskin horde reached the gates in overwhelming numbers. Calgar took position at the gate himself and held it alone for a full solar night and an entire day. One warrior, one gate, against a force that outnumbered everything standing behind him. The gate did not fall. The battle for Aura's sepulchre in 888.M41. A craft-world Eldar force descended on the world of Comrath to retrieve an ancient artifact from the tomb of Captain Aura. For a full day and night, the two forces fought and Calgar's warriors made no progress. Then, on the second day, the Eldar released an avatar of Kain. The avatar of Kain is a physical manifestation of the Eldar god of war, a creature of molten iron and ancient fury, capable of cutting through power armor as though it were cloth. Imperial weapons ceased to function against it. Calgar issued a personal challenge to it. He approached the avatar alone, its burning blade carved through his armor and brought him to one knee. As it moved to finish him, Calgar caught the blade with one of the gauntlets of Ultramar, the only part of him capable of withstanding contact with it, and drove the other gauntlet through the Avatar's chest. The Avatar was destroyed. The Eldar retreated. Calgar won. The First Tyrannic War in 745. M41. Hive Fleet Behemoth emerged in the eastern fringe and drove directly toward Ultramar. It was the first Tyranid Hive fleet the Imperium had ever encountered. No doctrine existed for fighting it. It consumed everything in its path. Macragge was the target. Calgar assembled a fleet and led the initial breaching assault on the hive ship designated Behemoth Primus personally, one of the first actions of its kind ever attempted against the Tyranid. His fleet and the planet's polar fortresses caught the Tyranid ships in a crossfire and destroyed them in vast numbers, but hundreds remained. The surviving hive ships launched waves of mycetic spores toward the polar fortresses before withdrawing from orbit. On Macragge's surface, the position at Cold Steel Ridge collapsed. Calgar used every tactic available, luring the swarm into valleys and onto ice bridges, striking synaptic organisms, running feigned withdrawals. It was not enough. Cold Steel Ridge fell. The Swarmlord reached him, creature engineered to destroy Space Marine commanders, directing the entire hive fleet through a single psychic consciousness. Calgar was already wounded and could not match it. His honor guard threw themselves between him and the beast, forming a living barrier, fighting until the creature cut through them one by one. Their sacrifice bought the seconds needed. A Thunderhawk arrived. The remaining honor guard carried Calgar to safety. Brother Aloysius was cut down by the Swarmlords for bone sabers as the gunship lifted clear. Cold Steel Ridge was lost. Calgar was alive. He refused all but the most critical medical attention and immediately resumed command of the fleet. The battleship Dominus Astra made the final sacrifice, detonating its warp drive inside the hive fleet and obliterating what remained of Behemoth in a single catastrophic explosion. Hive fleet Behemoth was destroyed. The entire Ultramarines' first company had been annihilated on Macragge's surface. Every veteran, every Terminator, gone. Calgary built the chapter from the loss and broke Codex Astartes' doctrine for the first time in its history, forming the survivors into elite tyrannic war veteran squads to preserve every piece of knowledge gained fighting the Tyranids. The Second Tyrannic War in 993, M41 Hive Fleet Kraken struck. The Swarmlord returned with it, reborn from the hive mind, the same psychic commander that had nearly killed Calgar at Cold Steel Ridge nearly 2.5 centuries before. At the Battle of Ichar IV, Calgar faced it again. This time, the outcome was different. Calgar killed the Corinthian Crusade and Damnos. Between the Tyrannic Wars, Calgar masterminded the Corinthian Crusade, breaking Wog, Skargor, and securing a significant stretch of the eastern fringe from Orc expansion. He also survived a Night Lord's ambush on the feudal world of Barathred, rallied the local population, and used civilian fighters alongside his own forces to destroy hundreds of the traitor Chaos Space Marines. In 999, M41, the High Lords of Terra, ordered the Ultramarines to reclaim the world of Damnos from the Necrons. The chapter had previously failed to hold it. 5 companies were assembled from across multiple war zones, and Calgar led the campaign personally. Damnos was reclaimed, the resurrection of Guilliman. When Belisarius' call arrived with the means to attempt the resurrection of Primarch Roboute Guilliman, Calgar refused. Call's expedition included Aldari, and permitting Xenos to participate was unacceptable to him. Then the Black Legion assaulted Macragge. Then Chief Librarian Vero Tigurius spoke. Calgar relented. He fought alongside Saint Celestine and Grey Knight's Grandmaster Volus, holding the Black Legion back while the resurrection ritual proceeded. Guilliman returned. Calgar had kept the chapter alive long enough for its father to come back. Guilliman called him a true embodiment of Ultramarines' ideals, then departed for the Indomitus Crusade and left Calgar in command of Ultramar. The man who had privately feared the Primarch's return would erase his authority was left running everything. The Rubicon Primaris, when Primaris Space Marines began integration into the chapter. Many firstborn Ultramarines feared obsolescence. Calgar understood the threat this posed to the chapter's unity. He volunteered to cross the Rubicon Primaris first. The surgery lasted solar days. The procedure implants 3 additional organs, the sinew coils, the Magnificat, and the Belisarian furnace, into a firstborn body not originally built to receive them. The failure rate is significant. Calgar was taken to the edge of death. Then his Belisarian furnace activated, flooding his system with combat stimulants and regenerative compounds. He broke his surgical bonds with a blood-flecked roar and stumbled upright. He had survived. The transformation was possible. The Ultramarines named the procedure the Calgarian Rites in his honor. With Guilliman absent on the Indomitus Crusade, Chief Librarian Tigorius conveyed a direct psychic order from the Primarch to travel to the world of Vigilus and prevent its fall. Vigilus was a critical node world in the Nachmund Gauntlet, one of the only stable passages through the Cicatrix Maledictum. If it fell, the passage fell with it. Calgar went to Vigilus. He held it, the man. Marneus Calgar has held his chapter together through 2 tyrannic wars. The annihilation of the entire First Company, the loss and reclamation of Damnos, the resurrection of his Primarch, the arrival of the Primaris, and the birth of the Great Rift. He is not the strongest warrior in the Imperium. He is not the fastest or the most gifted with a blade. What he is the man who does not stop, who holds the gate when no one else can, who absorbs the worst the galaxy can produce and turns it into a victory for the people standing behind him. The tomb on Nova Thulium records Marneus Calgar's death at 12 years old. The man who took his name has spent every year since proving that name was worth taking.